IVM.
Hi, I'm Utsav, a behavior researcher by training and a slow traveler by passion. Postcards from Nowhere is a travel podcast where I condense a decade of travel experiences and explore not just the where, but also the why and how to travel. My stories emerged from slow traveling the less explored parts of the world: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Armenia, Uzbekistan, and even China. At the end of each story, I give practical tips and new ideas about how to travel better. This week, I take you to one of my favorite cities in the world, Sarajevo, and tell you a story of love, the Olympics, and what it means to live in a country after a war has ended. May 19th, 1993, the siege of Sarajevo. Together, we cruised the city, looking for something different. Everywhere we went in Sarajevo ended in frustration. However, before calling it a day, we decided to check out the front line around the Vrbanja Bridge. These are the words of Mark H. Milstein, an American photojournalist who was in the besieged city of Sarajevo at the height of the war in Bosnia. There was a small battle going on, with the Bosnian forces firing at a group of Serb soldiers near the ruins of the Union Invest building. Suddenly, a Serb tank appeared 200 meters in front of us and fired over our heads. We scrambled to the next apartment house and found ourselves holed up with a group of Bosnian soldiers. One of the soldiers yelled at me to look out of the window, pointing at a young girl and boy running on the far side of the bridge. They were holding hands. The girl was waving her bag and hopping. I grabbed my camera, but it was too late. A burst of fire cut them through. Posko was shot first, and then Admira. She crawled to him, she hugged him, and then came silence. They were both 25. She was a Bosnian Muslim, and he was a Serbian Christian, in love and running away from the war. Their bodies remained in the no man's land for nearly 4 days before being recovered. From 1992 to 1996, the capital Sarajevo endured the longest siege in modern warfare. After the Serbian military and its Bosnian loyalists sealed all entrances and exits to the city, they launched a brutal assault on its inhabitants. But Sarajevo wasn't always like this. In 1984, it was a cynosure of all eyes. For the first time since the first Olympic Games in Athens, a Balkan country had hosted the Olympics. High in the Trebević Mountains, which overlook Sarajevo from north to south, a bobsleigh and luge track was specially constructed for the Olympics. At the 1984 Games, there were over 50,000 spectators who witnessed the competition. Experts heralded the track as safe, quick, and technically interesting, which requires extreme concentration and technical knowledge. 8 years later, as the war came to Bosnia, it was used as an artillery position by the Bosnian Serb forces. Many such Olympic sites were caught in the crossfire. They became minefields, bunkers, or improvised sniper positions, and they have mostly lain abandoned ever since. Today, a walk along the track is certainly possible. However, lying around quietly would be a landmine that could blow up your foot. Bobsleighs once used to cruise here at a speed of 150 kilometers an hour, celebrating the pinnacle of sporting glory. Today, you would be lucky to walk at 5 kilometers an hour, watching every step of yours. But if you wanted to get a tiny glimpse of what it felt like to live in a city under siege, all you needed to do was walk into the Sarajevo War Hostel. The owner, Arjan Kurbasic, first observed visitors' fascination with the war when he worked as a tour guide during his teens. I did regular city walking tours, and I noticed that some people were generally less curious about the broader history of the city compared to the recent war history. Though he tried to satisfy their curiosity, Kurbasic found it difficult to explain certain emotions to them, and instead decided to simulate the environment he grew up in. He went on to create a hostel that authentically recreated the condition under siege. Here, a pile of sandbags functioned as a reception desk, where Kurbasic wears a UN peacekeeper's uniform and welcomes you. The sofa in the hostel's common room is covered in camouflage upholstery. Flags, news clippings, and automatic rifles hang on the pockmarked walls. As you make your way to your room, You'd pass guns and bombs that hang from wall fixtures, imitation bullet holes punched through the plaster, and chunks of crumbling masonry suspended on threads of twisted rebar. Rooms are made up of camp beds and military issue blankets, with a mortar shell embedded in the wall above your pillow. At night, the electricity is cut off. Guests read by cooking oil candles and fall asleep on sponge mats, listening to the sound of gunfire and bomb explosions played over a sound system. You could call the hostel a mix between something kitsch and something authentic. You could question the validity of this entire project, even be repulsed by it. You could even say that it only tells you one side of the story. But Aryan Kurbasik has this to say: there are no winners in war, only victims. I can talk about my experiences and of people whose histories I have absorbed growing up. I didn't choose to experience the war, but it happened to me, and it's my right to talk about it. His thoughts also underscore the reality of Bosnia. The international community's fascination with the Bosnian War has resulted in the neglect of the everyday struggles that define Bosnian life today. With youth and employment as high as 63%, Kurbasik is glad to be making a living, even if it requires him to recreate his experience of war for tourists who have the luxury of walking away from the hostel unharmed. As we visit countries that were former war zones, we need to move our eyes away from the war and see the country for what it is today. Most such countries struggle with a post-war transition, and Kurbasik too met this fate. As of today, the Sarajevo War Hostel stands permanently closed. I don't know why, but as with so many stories of people who survive a war, nobody does. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Utsav Memory on Twitter and YVTravel42 on Instagram.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, Siet Tires and TheWholeTruthFoods.com. So this week on Advertising is Dead, Varun was joined by Mansi Zaveri. She shares her experience of running a community for parents of young kids and teenagers and of hosting a podcast along the same lines. Gauri Devidayal was joined by Divya Thani on This Round is on Me. Divya works as a global editorial director with Condé Nast Traveler. They discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of a travel writer's job. On Candid Kanan, Sid is in conversation with Adarsh Gaurav, who recently scored a BAFTA nomination for his role in the Netflix adaptation of The White Tiger. They talk about his role in the show, life pre and post stardom, and so much more. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritash and Ayushi talk about the precious time and opportunities lost to the lockdown and share their post-COVID wish list. When it comes to cricket this season, we have you covered. In English, we have Edges and Sledges, which do their show live on YouTube. They look for announcements over there. And for our Hindi listeners, we have Khel Niti, hosted by Rajiv Mishra and ex-Indian cricketer Sabah Kareem. This show is live streamed on YouTube every day at 9:15. Definitely do check these out and hope to see you again next week.
Feeling overwhelmed, anxious, struggling with too many obstacles, don't know where your life is headed? Well, if you are dealing with one or all of these, tune into the Positively Unlimited podcast, because in each episode, I share a life lesson, a life hack, a pro tip that can help you get your life back on track. All episodes are available on the IBM website, IBM Podcast app, or wherever it is that you get your podcast from.